So overcoming injuries. You, my friend, I feel have you are the master of this. It feels like, but this is definitely something I get asked often because people find their injury. I think some people almost make it an identity, almost like they're hurt versus that concept of hurt versus injured versus working around something versus working through something. What are your thoughts on overcoming injuries?
It's really your perspective. Like,
Okay.
how bad is it really? How bad is it going to set you back? And, I was talking to a kid actually this week, young kid, 21, super in good shape, gets diagnosed with cancer, and they're about to lop off his arm right above the elbow. And we had a really hard conversation. I was like, the only thing you can't control is your perspective. Like, are you right-handed or left-handed? Like, right-handed. Win. That's a fucking win column, man. You don't want to lose your dominant arm.
Mm.
And right now, being 2024, we just re-landed a rocket inside of the actual launch system. Like, these people now that are making these these prosthetics, you're in such a better spot. And I was like, it's the exact same thing for an ACL injury, an Achilles injury. If you would have got that 20 years ago, your life's forever changed.
Mm.
You can get them now and you can come back from them. But it's really keeping that perspective on the positive side over everything you can do and not avoiding those movements. Like, how can I get around? If you've ever had a bum knee or a broken foot, your day one on crutches are very different than day 10. Like, you're a ninja. Like, you're running parkour by 2 months in crutches. It's like, it's the same thing. You'll figure out how to button your pants. You'll figure out how to tie your shoes. You'll figure out all these things. And it's one little, if you look at it through the appropriate lens, it's one little win in the win column every single time. I can tie my own shoes now. I figured it out. You will figure it out. You'll figure out how to ride a bike. You'll figure out how to do this. You'll figure out how to do that. And it took me a long time to realize that. Like, I'm not the person I was 2 months ago. I'm not the person I was 10 years ago. But what can I do now? What am I doing every day to make myself a little more aware, a little more well-rounded, pre-injury, post-injury? But my perspective is the number one thing for me.
When you say perspective, I think that's definitely the most valuable because it even starts at the doctor's office. Because when afterwards, you don't normally a doctor doesn't say what you can do. There's not a list. It's hey, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I think it just starts that circle of well, I can't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore. And I always reference when it comes to injuries, like obviously I've never given birth to a baby, but when they tell moms they can't lift more than 10 pounds, I'm like, so they can't lift their child. They can't lift a child in the car seat. That's 20 pounds right there. So it's just that concept of we are so hesitant to tell someone to lift weight or whatever. So it's not what you can't do, it's what you can do. And like maybe you can't do like obviously the guy getting his arm cut off, but it could be something as simple as you hurt your elbow, you hurt your shoulder, or you're injured and you actually can't do it. You have contraindications that the doctor prescribed. It's like, okay, well, can we do the other side? Can we do the other arm? There are some things behind training one side of your body in injury situations to help your body because when it's recovering globally. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to recover that arm. When your body distributes all that stuff from those hormones being released during working out, it's going to distribute it globally throughout your body. You can't train upper body, you can train lower body. When you had your that first shoulder with me,
Yep.
we did legs like 3 times a week. It's an opportunity of like, okay, well, I can't do my shoulders, but now I can really focus on some weak spots that I have other places.
Exactly. Like, now we just cut that out of the equation. Hey, we can't do anything for left arm for 6 months. It's nothing but just rehab. We're doing the walking, the fingerboards. That's all we're gonna do. Well, cool. I've got the other 90% of me. Like, let's focus on this right now. Let's
Yeah.
focus on knee health, ankle mobility, all the other stuff that we usually blow off because we're so superficial by nature, right? Like,
Yep.
that's why everybody looks at himself in the front. You never really look at the posterior chain because you can't see it, so everybody just avoids it. Well, now we have no excuse to avoid it. Now I can't do anything with the side. Let's cut out of the equation. I put in a sling. What can I do? Belt squats, lunges, do this. We can do that. Okay, and for me, every time that I take a break, every time that I'm forced to kind of sit on the sidelines, I really start to lose connection with myself really, really fast. And I don't know if that's physically, that's mentally, it's a 50-50 split, I kind of feel like. But as long as I can do something, that's why, they want me to lay in bed for 10 days. I can't do it, man. Like, even you guys are in there lifting. I'm not lifting with you, but I'm in the gym. I'm absorbing good energy. I feel better. It's like, yeah, I can't lift. What can I do? Well, you didn't say I couldn't do calf raises, but let's do some calf raises.
Yeah.
Let's get something going on. I can do forearms. Let's do forearms, right? So, like, what can I do right now? I can do something, and I swear to God, day by day, it's like, am I getting better? I'm better than I was yesterday. Am I where I want to be? No, but I'll get there.
I think there's something special about being around it. Even in like sports facilities, they've started to integrate like there'd be like a rehab side and the strength and conditioning side, and you even I think in some military units as well, they're starting to put like glass walls
Oh yeah.
so you see it, because the worst thing you can do if you, in my opinion, if you are injured, is to put someone in a room that's not around them so they feel separate from the team. Now they feel left out. Now they don't feel involved. But it's like you said, well, I just show up, I see everyone else training, I do what I can. That sort of mindset, like it's infectious and it gives you encouragement to like keep going. But coming back from so many injuries that you've had, I mean, I can't tell you, I mean, I don't even know how many fucking setbacks we've had at this point.
More than I wanted.
I think a huge thing though is people not not realizing that you don't get to start from where you were. And I like the stairs reference. Like if you fall off, maybe you climbed up a staircase and you're on step 10 and you get injured and you have that setback, you don't reset back at 10. You have to go back to the bottom and then walk your way back up to where you were. And then you can keep going. But it's like, well, I don't want to start over. What's the rush? Like that's the one thing I always tell people. Like, I don't want to start back over. Why? Unless you're like an NFL player who's like, I got to get back in, or you're mission critical, I got to get back in. I want to be operational. Outside of that, like take your time. Take your time throughout the process and actually rebuild yourself so you don't have that same setback again.
Exactly. The stair concept is it's a beautiful analogy. Yeah, step 10, maybe I have to start at step 4. Well, in that transition, if I'm only going to be at step 4, it's going to take me so long to get to 5, then to 6. I might as well go back to 1 and just repolish my foundation all the way through.
Yep.
Then I can feel the growth as I get there. It's not I'm at 4 and I'm stuck at 4 and 5. It's like, now I'm here for 2 weeks. Break it down to bare metal, brother. Let's go all the way back up. And that's what we're doing now. And I really appreciate it now more. It's like, had I go in there and try to max out what I could? Yeah, but I'd be blowing off a lot of the progression, a lot of just, the chance for me to realign with myself and really focus on things I need to. Just take it down to bare metal, man. Let's start over from step 1. We'll get back to 10.
I feel like any opportunity you have to start from that foundational, like your ceiling is higher, because now you're like all those things maybe you took for granted along the way. Like I'm gonna rush my shoulder warm up today, or I'm gonna rush my routine. Like your morning, your routine is consistent all the time. Whereas if you were, I'm gonna wake up late, or I'm gonna skip my coffee, or whatever you're gonna skip on the way, you're like, oh, I can't. Like these are things that I have to check along the way so I have a successful lift to propel me throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, even my morning routine now, I shifted the entire timeline 1 hour to the right, give myself 1 more hour of sleep. I went out with, C-Bum, you, everybody else, and like, sleep is your greatest recovery tool. And I've neglected it my entire life. It was almost like a badge of honor. Like, I can run this thing at 150% with 3 hours sleep.
Watch what I can do.
Yeah, watch this shit. You want to see something impressive? Watch this.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if you take 8 hours of sleep? I don't know. I've never done it. Never? I mean, we went down, we talked to C-Bum. You heard him.
Yeah.
He's like, how many hours sleep you get a night? Like, no more than 4. He's like, 4 hours? He's like, no, dude. Not a chance. He's like, not taking naps in the middle of the day? You can't take a nap in the middle of the day. You'd be surprised what it'll do to you. An extra hour of sleep, man. He's like, that's the best HGH you can have. Like, you gotta sleep. But it's like, now we're not sleeping good. And we were talking about the Hostage tape stuff. Like, I got CPAPs. I got all these. That nasal strip was a game changer, dude. Like, I'm not snoring anymore. I'm actually sleeping better. And I wake up at 6 a.m. Like, man, I feel like I slept all damn day. Just 1 hour, man. It's crazy. But now I've got to do the red light therapy and a bunch of different modalities. But I'm still trying to get in here at the exact same time, just tweaking it just a little bit. Instead of sitting here checking emails, like, now it's more of a focused recovery plan before I even step inside the gym.
It's so interesting, all those small things that you're just like, I'm good. I don't need to worry about that. Like the red light therapy, even concept of sleep, how valuable our health is that we don't recognize until it gets taken away. And they're like, oh man, I really take my health for granted. Even myself, like even if a cold puts me down, or, like I was just in New York with Carson, we were walking around forever. That concept, like walking upstairs, you start getting winded or something. You're like, oh,
yeah.
Like when did this happen? Like, I haven't checked this box in a while. I don't understand. But that concept of our health and how valuable it is, but being hurt versus injured. So this is something that I've got from you a lot, is you are always hurt. And I think as a coach, the perspective of working with someone that is always hurt is very difficult, because when you say, my shoulder's giving me issues, for me, that might be like, yeah, I'm not lifting today, or I'm not going to bench today, or I'm not going to do chest at all. Where you're like, I'm so used to this level of pain. Like, what do you mean? If I never lifted with my shoulder being at a 6, I would never lift. Where me, that 6 is like an 8. And I'm like, hey, I can't do dips today. My shoulder's going to explode. Where you're like, this is my all the time. So how do you decipher that level of hurt of which I'm good versus maybe I need to take it back?
If I can't safely do the movement, if I can't be under control, then I'll find a different workaround. Like that might be a machine press, it might be just flies, it might be cables, it might be some other workaround to hit the same muscle group, the same target area I'm trying to focus on. But a lot of it, like I kind of use, remember the hearing test we used to get in the military?
Yeah.
Your hearing gets worse, they just reset your baseline, just your new baseline. Well, my baseline for pain is I'm always at a 7. Everything sucks. But if I wait for that day where I have no pain, I'll just be waiting forever. Like eventually you just have to kind of suck it up and realize like I'm never going to be a 600-pound bench press dude. I'm not going to be able to be that guy, but what can I do? Well, I can crush on 225. And maybe I just focus on repetitions and really, really good form, really, really in control, and then kind of stack it on from there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had a pain-free movement in a long time.
It's hard to wrap your head around as a coach because for someone that is healthy and feels good, and I think a lot of people that listen to our stuff, maybe they haven't had big injuries or been hurt, for a lack of a better word. But when you do have those minor things, you're like, oh, like your shoulder starts nagging or something. You're like, is that what this person's feeling all the time? But until you felt that, you just, like someone says, oh, my shoulder's giving me issues. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, do this exercise, try this. But if you've had a shoulder tear, you're like, oh, like that hurts to even put his shirt on.
Yeah.
And I'm asking him to do like band pull aparts and all this stuff. And it's just, you don't realize like your back, you with your abdomen, like how much is involved with those small areas. Are like, oh, it's okay. It's just, you just had surgery on his abdomen. But then you're like, oh, wait, every time he braces, every time he bends, every time he gets up, every time he walks, even just standing still, because now his lower back's going into extension. You're not holding that tension. Like that is a lot.
It is, and you never really realize it until it's upon you. Like, man, I never really. Like, I tell guys with neck injuries, you never had a neck injury, and you finally get one. You finally realize what all the fuss is about.
Batman neck,
like,
trying to drive.
Oh, dude, like shoulder issues. Like, dude, when I was younger, man, my shoulders were the epitome of shoulder health. Like, I never had an issue, never had a tweak. I had broken collarbones and everything else. I was always good. And when it finally went bad, I looked at all the old guys. I get it now.
Yeah.
Everything sucks, dude. Wearing this kit sucks. Shooting sucks. Lifting, like climbing up and down this caving ladder. It's miserable. How are you guys doing this? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah, and that kind of quote has basically taken me through my entire career. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
If you were to give advice, because there's a lot of coaches that I know that watch this, they work in the tactical population, they will never feel that. I was in the military, but not to that level. But what advice would you give them for them to kind of understand that? Like, because they can't put themselves in your shoes, but like you said, when you recognize those older guys and you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like, is there anything that a coach could do to better understand that besides getting to know you, like getting to know their people better and asking questions?
Building that relationship is really where it starts, man. They got to be open and honest, and you have to understand that these guys pride themselves on physical preparedness and being able to overcome adversity, and just their ability to block out pain and just get through it and get over it is unmatched, in my opinion. I mean, like, these guys aren't making $30 million a year. They don't have all the tools, all the equipment, all the rehab modalities. They just don't have it. How are they getting through it? A lot of them booze. A lot of them eat pills. A lot of them just get worse. And really, what I wish the focus would be on is career longevity. How can I get into that C+ at B- student and then maintain that? Because they are going to have injuries. They are going to dip down to a C-. Let's just not get them to a D. Let's get them to an A- and just somehow stay in that positive wavelength the entire time. But it's hard, man. Especially, we talk about therapists and psychiatrists. Like, they never talk about their injuries. And most of the coaches, they don't need it. Like, they just have an answer like, oh, my shoulder hurts. Band pull aparts, external, internal rotation. We'll get it warmed up and we'll go again. Like, no, you don't understand, man. Like, I don't have labrums. Like, my rotator cuff is completely snapped. It has been for 6 years. I've just been babying this thing. Like, what do I do now? Oh, we gotta get you a new level of normal. I'm always in pain. Okay, what else can we do? You gotta find a workaround. But building that relationship between coach and the actual athlete itself is paramount, man.
So I think we can go even a step further. Like, there's a physical component to to an injury or being hurt, like the physical mechanism of the pain, whatever it is. But there is a true mental side of it, and I love saying mental scar tissue lasts a lot longer than physical scar tissue because it sticks, and the nervous system never forgets. So when you're dealing with those things or whatnot, I think when you say you're hurt, there is a mental component to that where I don't know if some people get wrapped around it, like it becomes their thing, like my shoulder always hurts, or they relate it to a past experience, a traumatic experience, so they anticipate it always being there. Or the guys that, well, I ruck all the time but it hurts my back, but I have to do it because you have to do things you don't want to do. Yes, you do, but not things that are crushing you.
Yeah.
So I think that's such an interesting thought when you say the stuff about like mentally, like that is truly a part of that as well.
It is reestablishing that confidence and knowing that, there's 50 guys on this team. None of you guys are 100%. None of you. Everybody has the same things. It's like that shared frustration. If the entire team feels the same frustration, it doesn't divide the group. It's like now you're a weak link. Like Tony got a shoulder issue too. So does Brian. Brian's got an ACL repair. He's got a cadaver tendon inside of him that he's rejected 3 times. Like everybody's got some stuff going on too. Like we're all in the same boat together. How can we get around this? How can we work through? And people don't want to hear that you're not going to be 100%. In their mind, there'll always be 100.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to find your new level of 100. Now, how do we maintain it? Now that we're older, now that we've broken ourselves a couple times, now we're more physically aware. Let's just prepare ourselves for that. You're not going to be 22 again. It's not happening. We're not going left on this timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we maintain what we have now with a little bit of input, a little bit of progress, and just maintain that throughout the course of your career so you're not crippled by the time you're 50?
When you say maintaining, I think people sometimes like correlate that with like a plateau, like I'm not making improvements. And I always go, dude, if you can maintain where you're at for the next 10 years, do you not think that's improvement? Like your body's going this way. Like, let's be honest, after 25, like you're going down. So if you can maintain when you're at, that is improving comparison to where you were at a previous 10 years ago.
And if you look at amongst your peers or even people outside, you're better than they are.
Yeah.
Just by maintaining what you have now. If you think about Kobe Bryant, 2007, if he can just maintain that through the rest of his career, no one ever says he falls off. He doesn't have to get any better. Like you're already at a super high level, and that's what people fail to realize. Like you're already the best in your field. We just got to keep you doing that as long as possible to transfer all the knowledge inside of your brain to the dude standing behind you. That's what we need. And a lot of it, man, there's so many injuries, and it's so much easier to compartmentalize a single injury. Now, when you start adding in 4, 5, and 6, and all these restrictions and all these other things you have to do, it really starts to wear on you. And a lot of guys lose motivation. Like, I need to take 2 weeks off. I need to take a month off. I need to do this. I need to do that. And by the time they come back to it, it hurts so much worse that now you're at 60%. Like, I'm going to give a little less effort. Now you're at 50. Now you're at 40, 30. And you see these guys like, oh man, I remember that guy when he first came out of training. Like he was a phenom. You see him 12 years later, and you're like, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Like injuries stacked up, didn't have the right coaches, didn't have the right mindset, and now he's just trying to navigate around these injuries without actually going through them. He's just avoiding, which is what I did.
When you said earlier, you said that concept of sharing your thoughts, so that vulnerability of saying that you're hurt or injured, that takes a big leap for a lot of people. I heard someone say, and I don't remember who said it, pain shared is pain divided. And I thought that was such a cool thought process of like, if I share, like you said, coaches might not understand the rigors of the life of the training or whatnot, but that concept of if I can sort of relate to how you feel, if I can sort of understand that, it almost feels like it takes some off that person, the weight of carrying that injury or that being hurt, for a lack of a better word. When you said multiple injuries, that's like the big thing I focus with the GBRS performance program is when you have one injury, there's like an answer. Like I know that there's, we're limited in external rotation. The shoulder is a flow chart. This exercise, for a lack of a better word. But no, you and none of the guys I think that train here have just one issue. So then it's like, then I think there's a mental aspect. Did this injury cause this one? Is this one long term and this one's this chronic that's happening all the time and this one's acute that just happened to happen? Did this one just happen to happen because all of these have compounded to that point? Along your journey, have you started to think like, man, is my back issue because of my hip? Is my shoulder issue because I never addressed this? Do you ever start to connect those dots yourself?
100%. And a lot of it, and I mean, you pointed out when we first got together, I was guarding myself so much.
Yeah,
every
you were.
movement I did,
Yeah.
that I was causing so many, like my neck issue, that was self-induced. Like jumping, bundles, grappling, fight, whatever. Yeah, that all plays a factor. But my posture was one of the number one things.
It was
And
huge.
by me just bracing my core at 40 or 50% all day, every day, my lower back, I mean, you saw me. My lower back was jello, man. It was trash. It's great. It just is.
It's interesting now that you're kind of like easing. It's almost like once you feel something, you know what it feels like. You know how you should feel based off of your current reality. And I remember you told me that years ago. And then it's funny you mentioned that in the past 2 weeks that you're starting to feel your back again because you cannot go back to that feeling of that sensation of maintaining that 40% tension because of that. And I think that's just so interesting. And now you've recognized it's almost like you've learned. I know what I'm supposed to feel like when I do things right. How has that been now referencing back, being like, I need to get back to that?
Something as simple as going on a 20-minute walk unbraced, it feels so unnatural.
Mm.
And then, but it also feels like deja vu because I remember this. Like I remember my lower back just starting to burn a little bit, one side more than the other side. And it's like, for me, everything on my right side of my body is kind of shot to shit. It's like I feel my lower back starting to spasm. I'm like, God, what is that? I'll go to tighten up my core and then I'll get some resistance from the surgery. I'm like, oh shit, what is this right now? Like, I've been here before. I know what this is. This is just bad posture, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I get back from a walk and my head's been down the entire time. Like, why has it been down? Am I depressed? Is it just a more comfortable position? Now my traps lock up. I'm like, oh God, how am I going to get past this one? A lot of my issues are posture related. Even the way I used to walk, I had this huge limp on the right side from the hip stuff. And I saw a chiropractor. I mean, I think my right leg was 2 inches shorter than my left leg from an impact injury. Reset. Man, I've been able to be like this the whole time. Like, damn. Like, okay, the limp goes away. Then my lower back settles out. And it's like, okay, well, how much compensating was I doing? Like, same thing with the shoulder issue. Now every time we go to press, like, I'm guarded on one side. This whole trap locks up.
Yep.
I'm like, why am I doing that? Because it feels uncomfortable. I'm just trying to find some sort of stability. And a lot of it, especially when I was younger, I just didn't have the body awareness. I just didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't isolate and, I couldn't fire this one muscle group in isolation. Like, I just have to tighten up my whole body and hope that it would get it done. It's like, my muscle maturity isn't there. I'm not mature enough in this, my own vessel. And I don't want people to ever be hurt, but those little injuries you can come back from that don't require a major surgery, those are really good points of, a little file folder in the back. Like, I tweaked my right knee. This is how I got better. This is what I did for the rehab. Next time it happens, I immediately act that. I already know the plan. I already know the solution. I've already been here before. Now we go again. It's when it's new injuries you've never had before and you have no mechanism, no experience level to come back from that. That's when it gets dicey. It's like, this is uncharted territory. I've never, like the abdomen, like I've never done one of these before. This is very different.
So almost like the concept of adversity.
Yeah.
No different than they say a predictor for success as you get older is facing adversity at a younger age. You've experienced setbacks or whatnot. So that concept of even experiencing some sort of health setback, whether it's a small injury, a small being hurt, whatever it is, it gives you the motivation the next time it happens that I can come back from that. I mean, you're one of the more motivational people I know. As many times it's happened, what would you tell someone that is that? Because you've had a ton. And we've even had some pretty candid conversations where you've been in a pretty shitty spot, but you still show up and you still it's constantly. So someone that maybe doesn't have that, or they just experience something and they're like, shit, you're just in yourself, you're in your feels. How can you pull yourself? Like, how do you pull yourself out of that?
I surround myself with people that are positive and better than me. But, I was talking to that kid with the arm thing. I'm like, while you're in downtime right now, I wish I would have been more diligent on researching injuries and how to get over them. I was like, get on YouTube, dude. Look at guys who have lost their non-dominant arm, how they get around it. Like, there are people out there that have lost their arm that teach you how to tie your shoes. They teach you what clothes to wear. They teach you how to button up, button down shirts. They teach you how to tie a tie one-handed. They've had to live through all this, and there's such good knowledge transfer specialists out there, and it's a lot of stuff that I never had before. And for me, I try to control my perspective. Like when I was in there for this last injury, and they were telling me how long the recovery time was going to be, and with the surgery and potential complications. Like as soon as he walked out of that room, I broke down. Like started crying. I was like, "Fuck, man, I do not want to do this again." It was just me and Patsy sitting in the room, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I don't want to fucking do it again, dude. Like I don't want to get the surgery. Like I'm serious reservation about just not doing it. Like I don't. Maybe I can take off for a year. Maybe I can just get through Christmas." You've been here before. You have the whole team to support you. You have Vernon Monday through Friday. Like there's no better time to do this than right now. You got the doctors. You got everything you ever need right now. Now's the time to go. Yeah, you're right. It's like you've been here before. It's like this uncharted territory. It's like you've been down and out multiple times before. You had to rebuild this thing with Vernon multiple times. Like it's just one more time. Just send it one more time. You're right. I mean, I don't have any excuses. I have everything at my disposal now.
That's great advice from her.
It wasn't, dude. I was in my feels.
Just good timing.
Yeah, dude. I was in my feels. Like again, one more fucking time, man. Like, dude, I don't want to play the game anymore. I just don't. She's like, you're gonna get back up Monday. You're gonna wake up at the same time. You're gonna walk in that gym at the exact same time. You're gonna start the rebuild. You're right.
I think you said the people around you. I have seen people in the past that will assign accountability, almost like an accountability partner or an accountability goal, but just having someone that you can go to. Maybe it's not for motivation, but like they can hold you accountable. Like, hey, I want, maybe you I don't know, you do something to your ankle or your knee. Like I really want to get back into running, or I want to get back into whatever it is. And it's like having a friend that you tell that to, be like, hey, hold me accountable. Like ask me every month, send me a text randomly. How are things going? Every 2 weeks, whatever it is. Just that sort of check-in, or having that person, even if it's a stranger on the internet, man, like someone that you've become friends with on Instagram, be like, hey man, I'm in a tough spot, like follow up with me, and like ask that person. I can't think of a single person, if they hit me up and said, hey man, I'm in a real tough spot with my ankle, would you mind checking in on me weekly? I would put it in my calendar. Because I'd be like, the fact that you asked me that, oh, I'm 100% going to do that for you.
Oh dude, like even when you were out of town this week, shoot me a text. How did lift go this morning? How you feeling? How you this? Like, stay in the course, man.
It matters.
Fuck yes, it matters. It definitely matters, especially for the guys that have never gone through one before. There is such an emotional decline so fast, and you can't do the things you could a week ago. That turns to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Before you know it, like you've really lost connection with yourself. But yeah, you don't want to add a physical injury or limitation and then a mental limitation on top of it. Like that is destined for failure. It is not going to be better.
And you said consistently positive. Because the second you start getting negative, man, people, that sort of negative, and I think people love to be a part of that too. Like the second you start becoming hurt and injured, you'll start to notice if you become negative, other people will start to gravitate towards that, of you feeling bad. Oh man, how are you doing today? You know, how are things going? Versus it takes a lot for you being negative for someone to be like, dude, let's go. But if you're like, hey man, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get back in there. People are like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go. Like it almost like that temperature, it attracts.
For sure.
For good or for bad.
For good or for bad. You got to surround yourself with positive people, man. Even if you got to fake it. That's what I told that kid. I was like, sometimes you have to fake it just to fake yourself.
I'm going to throw one at you. So I used to say that concept of fake it till you make it, that I hate it. And I read something like a month ago, and I'm on this journey of making myself better. And it said, stop saying that, and it's create a character, the character that you want to be. What would that character do? Did me and you talk about this? Okay. But it was create the character that you want to be. And my character is, this is completely off topic, but being a good dad, taking care of my body, taking care of myself. And what would that character do on a daily basis? And now when I see myself making decisions or doing things, I'm like, that's not what that character would do. So it's almost like now it's like I know what I want to be. I've assigned a role to that person. This is what this person dresses like. This is what this person listens to music. This is what this person arrives to work on. Like all these things that character does, that I would like people to be like, hey, yeah, Vernon, man, I describe him. Well, he's this, he's this, he's this. And it's like, okay, this is what he is now. What do I want my character to be? And now all my decisions are based off of not what I want or what I am. It's like that character.
Exactly.
So where people be like, well, don't fake it till you make it. It's no, I want something. I want to be something better than myself. And now it's like I'm just not playing a character, but I'm doing what I think that character would be doing.
Same conversation we had about role models. Like, who are you chasing? Who are they chasing?
Exactly.
And then how do I emulate them? Like, if I wanted to be the greatest basketball player, if I just adopt Kobe Bryant's routine and his mentality, I'd already be better than I am currently. It's the same thing with that. Like, who is that person I'm trying to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I can match that up, then it answers the question: would that version do it? No. What would he do? Well, he'd do this. Well, that's what I'm going to do. Like, that's more than what I was planning on doing. Yeah, sometimes you have to have that, that Herculean figure in the back of your mind you're trying to be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's he look like? How much does he weigh? How's he speak? How's he articulate? How's he interact with other people around him? Is he positive? Is he negative? Is he a thermometer? Is he a thermostat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the things you put out, it's the exact same thing. Like, if I was perfect, I'd carve myself out of, granite, what would I do? How would I be? How would I function? Well, just like this. Now you just got to chip away at that dude every single day.
Mm-hmm. That is, man,
It takes
great
a bit,
metaphor.
dude. Like, it takes a little bit, but like, that's part of the struggle. That's part of the beauty of it. It's like, it's not going to happen overnight now. It's not supposed to be. Rome wasn't built in a day. That dude wasn't built in a day. Neither was that guy. It takes steady pressure throughout the entire time.
Mm-hmm.